Hello, I'm Rob Constantine, and this is Paranormal Record. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. What's going on? Welcome back, listeners. Paranormal Nation in the house, out there listening. As always, I'm your host, Rob Constantine, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Appreciate it. Today's special guest is paranormal investigator Heather Taddy from Paranormal State and also Portals to Hell. She's been on a bunch of different shows, and she is still doing the paranormal circuit and out there and active and doing her thing. But she came on and set aside some time for us and came on the show, which was really exciting. I think you're really going to enjoy the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a paranormal experience that you'd like to talk to me about, please write into the show at paranormalrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you want a really cool sticker, put on your laptop, put on your cell phone, we got really cool Ouija board stickers with our paranormal logo on there, our paranormal record logo. But if you want a sticker, I'll send it to you. Write me an email, give me your mailing address. I'll put a stamp on it. I'll send you a sticker, and you can tell all your friends to listen to Paranormal Record. Almost done with our second season, so this is really exciting. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for listening. So here she is, ladies and gentlemen, from Paranormal State, Heather Taddy. Hope you enjoy. Heather, this is so cool. We talked about this, and I'm so glad we're friends. And here we are. Like, first of all, how fun was Haunted Atlanta? And I hope they do it again.
It was super fun. That was
Yeah.
such a unique place to hold an event. I had a blast that weekend. It was so fun, especially the game show when we did like the paranormal Cards Against Humanity type game. It was so fun.
That's so great. Was
Yeah.
Buddy the host of that too? Like the same guy from Friday Night. I really like him. What is his name?
Oh, Aaron Sagers?
Aaron Sagers. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's a buddy of mine.
Very cool. Shout
Yeah.
out to Aaron as well. I listened to that show as well.
Hmm.
Very cool. Yeah, it was kind of like all of the guests, because Haunt had me as a guest as well. They're like, "We like your podcast. Come be a part of our convention." And I was like, "People listen to my podcast. People listen to my podcast,"
Yay.
which was so cool. But yeah, so they had me, and then just you guys were so nice and just included me in everything, and I just it was really cool. And Iron E and all those people were there, and like
Yeah.
just people I watched on television for years, and it was just so cool. Love the Ghost Brothers. Those guys are so cool.
Hmm.
And just we all hung out for like a weekend. I had a wedding that weekend, so I couldn't go to the whole thing, but I will be around for the next one for sure. I'm gonna go and be
Yeah,
around.
I hope they do another one.
I really do. And Lake Lanier was a cool space.
Oh, it's so
Um,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when I first started talking to you there, I commented on your Counting Crows shirt. That's how
Yes,
we started talking. I was like,
that's
nice
right.
Counting Crows shirt.
Yes. And as you know, fans, I have a Counting Crows cover band, Counterfeit Crows, and Heather and I are both Counting Crows fans. But I had a shirt. I actually had that shirt made. I have a lot of Counting Crows shirts, but I had that particular one made, and it's the one from I think it's the Rolling Stones shoot. Uh, but there's a fireplace behind them, but you can see the ceiling separate where it's a soundstage
Hmm.
the top of the photo, but it's all the guys, and it's a famous picture. Anyway, but yeah, and no words. You just had to know who the guys were, but you know
Yeah.
exactly who they were.
Yep.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
she walked right up to me and she was like, "That's a Counting Crow shirt." I'm like, "Yes, it
You don't
is."
really see people wearing Counting Crows shirt. And then you told me about your band.
Yeah.
And then you showed me a video of you wearing that crazy wig, and I was like, "Who are
I
you?" You're
got,
my
dude.
soulmate.
I have to wear the wig. It's a
Yeah.
Counting Crows play. I have to wear the wig. We're pretending.
It's so good, and you actually really sound like him. You have a really great voice from all the videos I've heard.
More. Stop. More, please.
We
What
have
were
to
you
get you to
saying about
Pittsburgh.
me and my band? What?
We have to get you a show in Pittsburgh
Heather,
someday.
that's so kind. That's
I'll
so
bring all my
awesome.
friends, and
I
we'll
would
all wear
love
matching
to.
wigs.
We'll drive up there. Please wear wigs.
I totally would.
I'm going to Counting Crows Thursday, so this is Tuesday. So I'm going to go to that show. I'm so excited.
Nice.
They got sick. Emmy was sick last year for their Santana show, and they called out like the morning of, and
Mm.
all of Atlanta, all the Crows fans in Atlanta were a little bummed, and that had never happened to me before. Where any ticket I bought, the guest had never canceled. Courtney Love was 47 minutes late to her show, but it didn't get canceled.
Oh, wow.
I saw Hole at the Tabernacle, and it was really
Oh,
great.
lucky. I wish I could see that show.
It was
Man.
awesome. It was awesome. But nothing I'd ever bought tickets for had been canceled, so that was really weird. But I got to sadly mark it off my life bucket list of this happened to me. But that that was a negative thing. It was so anyway. But they gave everybody their money back too, which was I couldn't believe it. Would Ticketmaster really bend over backwards for fans, and they don't have to do shit. So
Yeah.
I was pretty pleased with Ticketmaster that day, although most of the time I'm mad at Ticketmaster, but I was pretty
Aren't we
pleased that day.
all?
Yeah, right? Yeah. But they were like, yes, sir, Mr. Constantine. Boom, here's your money.
Do you remember when Pearl Jam was really mad at Ticketmaster in the
I do.
90s?
I do. And Lars was all mad at Ticketmaster too. Like from Metallica, Lars was like, Ticketmaster's the devil. It's like,
No, yeah, Napster too.
oh yeah, I remember all that. That was the
Yep.
same year. Yeah, and then
Was it?
Pearl Jam like started their own like ticket dealership. I don't know. I'm talking out of school. I can't remember, but
Yeah, well, now their tickets are like hundreds of dollars, which is ironic.
it seems that they have fallen off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, well, awesome. So Heather, you have so much to tell us that I'm so excited to have you on the show and thank you for listening and thank you for being here. And I'm so glad we're friends. This is crazy how things happen in life.
It is, yeah.
But yay, I'm better for it. So I'm glad you're my friend, dude.
Oh, I'm glad you're my friend
Yeah. Um, so uh tell us about yourself. I'll let you do it. Tell us who you are and what you do and then we'd love to hear all that you have to tell us. We're open
too.
floor is
Okay.
yours. We're open floor.
Well, my name is Heather Taddy, and most people call me Taddy. I'm a paranormal researcher and investigator, which is something that has always been a hobby of mine growing up. And when I went to Penn State,
Spooky kid like
yep,
us. All the
yep,
spooky kids out there.
yeah. So growing up, I was just always fascinated with ghost stories, UFO encounters, and researching it. A lot of encounters have kind of been with us since like the beginning of history. So for me, it's like why do these things happen to certain people and why do we kind of really not really know what these things are? So I grew up hearing the stories, listening to Coast radio, reading about the Warrens and
That's that
their
Art Bell
famous.
show, right? The Coast to Coast.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I listened to that. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I grew up hearing that and I don't know, I think the two most profound questions you can ask yourself are, is there any kind of, are we sharing the planet with like another intelligence? And what is a ghost? What happens when we actually die? And those are the two most interesting things you could talk about.
Agreed.
And you
And
can
I
go down so many paths, so
so
many
many
theories.
theories.
So yeah, so in college, I joined this paranormal club that was backed by Penn State University. This college student had started it in 2001. It was called the Penn State Paranormal Research Society. I just started going to meetings. I volunteered at their academic paranormal conference where they had like all of these top names like researchers. They had Doug Bradley would be a guest there from Pinhead.
Yeah.
Um, the Warrens, the owners that owned the Amityville house, Jay and Grant from Ghost Hunters, a lot of different like researchers like Lloyd Auerbach. He's like a prominent parapsychologist. So for me, I just saw this club exist and I started going to meetings and I started training to become a field investigator. And I had no idea that A&E was in the process of making like a docu-series where they followed this club around. So I continued to go to meetings, and long story short, I tried out for the show. They thought I was really quirky. I was in a band at the time, and they definitely thought I was like the girl that was into this for the thrill of it, which is totally true. Because growing
Yes,
up,
sir.
yeah, so growing
Yes,
up,
sir.
I didn't have any kind of paranormal experiences. I wanted to. I didn't grow up in a haunted house. I played with the Ouija board a lot. I broke into, places that were reported to be haunted in my hometown in Pennsylvania. And for me, I just kind of wanted to put myself in a situation to where I could potentially see a ghost and try to figure out what it is. So that's why I joined the club. And I had no clue it would turn into a TV show that basically had like a huge influence on the development of paranormal TV. Like
Agreed.
even thinking about it today, it's like, wow, I was involved in that. And I'm still going to conventions and talking about it. I've been on a bunch of other different TV series. So it's really interesting how a hobby just kind of fell into place for me and kept going.
Paranormal State, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I
Uh,
guess I should mention the name of the show.
what is that? Was it 7 seasons?
So there were 6 seasons of Paranormal State. I was on seasons 1 through 4, and then I left after that.
Right. Very cool. And
Yeah.
but it launched the trajectory of what you're doing for a living now.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I stuck with it and yeah, it led me to doing UFO investigations. It led me to doing different, like, trying to figure out different mysteries, and I'm still going strong.
Love it. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
keep right on going. I also tell us more. So you also doing like what are your current shows and then what else should fans watch? Just tell us a little bit. Paranormal Nation out there listening. What else should
Yeah.
they catch Heather Taddy in?
So right after Paranormal State, I did a series for the Travel Channel called Alien Highway. We only had 1 season of that. Unfortunately, at that time when we were going to get renewed for a second season, there was a merger with Travel Channel and some people got fired and they weren't picking up any more UFO shows, so it kind of turned into a mess and people at the networks kind of did not really know what they were doing. So I did that and then I guest starred on 4 episodes of Portals to Hell. My
Yay,
best
Jack
friend,
Osborne.
yeah. My best friend Katrina Weidman, who I was on Paranormal State with, she was the co-host on that show with Jack Osborne,
Yeah,
and she couldn't do an episode, so I filled in, and then it turned into me filling in for like 4.5 episodes,
that's so
or no,
freaking
three and a half
cool.
episodes.
That's so great.
Yeah,
I can't wait to
which
watch
was fun.
those.
Yeah, season 2, I'm in a couple of different episodes on that, so.
Very
Uh,
cool.
That was fun. And then so I've done 3 episodes of a show for the CW called Mysteries Decoded. Only one of them has premiered so far. Again, there was like a merger or something
Right.
where there were layoffs at their production company, and their season 3, which are the 2 other episodes I was featured in, haven't premiered yet, and we filmed them like 3 years ago. So I don't know if those will ever see the light of day, but that's another show I guess start on with an
Very
actress named
cool.
Jennifer Marshall. She was super fun to work with.
Very cool. Okay.
Um,
So you professional paranormal investigator and hobbyist and longtime fan and longtime interest, and then this is where it's led you into this field
mhm.
of being an expert on these things. And certainly with the experience gained, um, your perspective uh
Mhm.
probably has changed dramatically from you going to these club meetings and then now where you are now. But
Yeah.
it did start honestly. a a serious interest in everything, and
Yeah.
then it took you to those places. Um,
Yeah, and I remember in college, I was trying to think of like what clubs to join. And I was gonna twirl baton in the blue band, and then I wanted to join the juggling club, I wanted to join French club and the comedy club. And then when I discovered the paranormal club, I was like, I'm doing this. And then
it's awesome.
luckily I did, but sometimes I think like, what if I joined the comedy club? Like, where would my life be now? Or what if I joined the juggling club? Would I be in the circus or what would I be doing then?
You could
So it's
still be in a circus, Heather.
I could. But yeah, and it was cool because I mean, Paranormal State premiered in 2007, and at that time, you had another huge show, Ghost Hunters. Our show was very different in the cinematography, the way it was filmed. It was almost filmed. Oh, there's my cat. It was almost filmed like a horror movie in a way, and there was nothing really like it on TV at the time. And we worked with a lot of families that lived in really historical haunted houses, and we kind of applied psychological knowledge to what we were investigating. So I really learned a lot with working with different types of families.
Very cool. And I totally agree with that. Those shows are of the same like genre, but completely different.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, they're completely different shows. Like now that I think
Mhm.
about it, they really are. And
Yeah.
also they're the pioneer of that. Like I think Paranormal State was before Ghost Hunters, right?
No,
Maybe by a
Ghost
couple of
Hunters.
months.
Well, Ghost Hunters premiered in 2004, I think in the fall of 2004, and our show premiered 2007, and then Ghost
Okay.
Adventures was kind of in between that.
But just on my radar, I think is what I'm just talking about personally, where I was
Yeah.
watching things and going, oh, okay. But right, like, okay, good to know. Uh, I was wrong, about that. But that's how it showed up on my TV watching experiences. But I
Mhm.
didn't always have cable. That's a huge gap in it.
Right. Yeah.
I would go from cable to no cable, at times in my life.
Yeah.
But right, cool, very cool, good to know. I thought, yeah, yeah. Um, so Heather, so then I guess why don't you start off with you hadn't seen a ghost yet, but that changed. So tell me about that first kind of we were like, wait a minute, there's whoa.
So I think like thinking back to the first like couple of episodes of Paranormal State we filmed, we would actually stay in the client's house. We would spend the night there all days of filming, which, gave us the ability to kind of live as the client and experience more, just kind of like living there. And I remember kind of the first things that would happen that made me think, wow, there's something to this were like our equipment draining. Like the batteries would drain, and I would put fresh batteries in things. The weather wouldn't be cold. There were times when like our equipment would malfunction, batteries would drain. But one of the very first things I remember happening, we were investigating this like haunted schoolhouse. It was a schoolhouse that was converted into these like loft apartments. And I was sitting on a couch, and the priest we were working with was blessing the upstairs loft. And he was, reciting something in Latin. And at one point, in front of me, there was like these kitchen cabinets, and one of the cabinets just like slowly opened. And I was kind of like, I grabbed my friend's leg. I was like, "Are you seeing this?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh." So we kind of went over and we couldn't figure out how it came unlatched. Um, and I don't know if it was paranormal. It was just the timing of things was weird, but that's an early experience I had. A really sort of, I think it was season 3 or through season 4, we investigated this church. I did all the research for the episode. So how it worked is we had an office at Penn State, and we got emails from families that had these issues where maybe they had kids and they were afraid to sleep in their own house and they didn't know like what they were really experiencing, and they wanted us to go there and help. So we would kind of go through these emails and get on the phone with them and have these like hour-long interviews where we'd go through like different forms of these interviews to kind of decide if we wanted to take it on as a case, and then we'd sort of pitch it to production as a case. So one episode I did all the research for was an episode that ended up being called Church of the Damned, and it was a church in Topeka, Kansas that these three caretakers were living in, and they were remodeling it to turn it into a community center. It was a huge Methodist church, and at one point it was abandoned, and there were some people that went in and did some satanic rituals that we were able to talk to. But these caretakers were so scared in this church. They noticed their objects started going missing. They would hear footsteps. They refused to go down into this basement area near the boiler rooms. They were just so terrified. These grown men were just terrified. And I thought it was a really genuine case. So we did it. We went there. And while we were there, we didn't have historical documentation of this, but the rumor around town was that in the 50s, a priest molested a girl in the boiler room and then he hung himself on like the third floor of this church. So, when these caretakers removed the boiler and they were remodeling down in that area, that's when they kind of started to notice activity. So that kind of triggered everything. So we were there, and I was with an investigator, and he was standing in this doorway of this shower, and he had a little handy cam. I had a handy cam. We were in this hallway with these closets. There was a camera guy here and a camera guy here. And we were reading this writing that was on a cabinet, and all of a sudden, I look over, and Ryan, the investigator that I was with, it looked like something grabbed him by his jacket and pulled him back, and he fell to the ground onto his back. And this was like a very small, like shower space. And he was completely in shock. And you see the camera angle from his video, his perspective, and I wasn't able to turn my camera quickly enough to get it because I saw it with my eyes first and it just happened so fast. But to see the look of shock in his face and to kind of see this happen to someone, no explanation as to what could, like something with force, like it was in the winter, we were wearing winter jackets, something with force, like grabbed the back of his jacket and pulled him back. And there was no way he could have like faked that or done that himself.
And certainly the fear that followed, he didn't fake that.
Yeah. He
The
was
fear
like,
and shock and dismay.
yeah, I was like, Ryan, did something push you? Did some like what happened? And he just couldn't even talk. So
That's really scary.
that was an
Yeah.
experience. I mean, obviously it didn't happen to me, but I saw that happen and that kind of, I was like, maybe there is something to this. But, and then down the line I would have other little experiences. But in general, I was always, and I still pretty much am pretty skeptical about a lot of things because I think there's especially working with families, there's a dynamic where you can, if you're going through like a stressful time in your life, you can psychokinetically cause things to move and things to happen. So we would find that we would be working with families that maybe they were going through grief or depression, they were hallucinating, or a lot of things they were experiencing ended up being explainable. So working with families, that was always the most fascinating to me was trying to find like the natural explanation to it. So, but
Yeah. Try to scully the molder.
exactly. But I go into every case with like an equal balance of skepticism and belief, which I think is very important.
Since I've started this, I do find there's a fine line of people experiencing things, and then there's a degree of mental health involved.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I don't, of course, I don't tell my guests that,
Hmm.
but just the stuff that I've experienced at times, it's like, hey, this person's not seeing ghosts. This person has some issues with their perception of reality.
Yeah. I think the subject
Yeah,
of the paranormal has a really weird grasp on people.
yeah.
And I think that sometimes people just aren't thinking rationally. They can get hysterical. And of course, like Hollywood and pop culture, they don't do a very good job. I guess basically what I'm trying to say is they sort of exaggerate things and make people fearful of it.
It's
Which, like,
sensationalism. Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
that's the word. That's the word, sensationalism. Yeah.
For
So
sure.
it it's odd, but for me, I always love trying to pinpoint like how can this be natural, versus always paranormal.
People write me emails, and people come to me, and they say, I heard about your show, or I listened to your show, and I want to be a guest. And I'll go, like, great, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. and then they'll tell me something where they see ghosts every day, or they
Mhm.
or their daughter sees ghosts every day, and then they talk to her, and I get a little skeptical up front. I
Right.
would much rather talk to the college professor that saw one thing 30 years ago that he can't explain. That's the story I
Hmm.
want to hear. You know, it's there's such an it's just so interesting. I haven't I having had very few experiences myself, but
Hmm.
having read tomes of books and everything I can get my hands on since I was a kid. So I again, when I say hobbyist and theorist,
Hmm.
it's I have my own theories and I have my own because I've done so much reading and so much talking and so much thought has been behind it. I have
Hmm.
a perspective of it that I have formed and I carry that with me. Um,
Yeah.
and so, but getting into and starting this show and having the opportunity to be able to hear all these stories, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm
Hmm.
here to somehow like get a handle on it and put it in a jar so we can look at it and talk about it and analyze it
Yeah.
and ask questions and ask the questions that I read but I don't get to ask. And I read a story or I hear a story I want to ask. That's what this show is about and talking about it and just getting it out there and just so it's so exciting. But I can't imagine um the you're going from like me reading about it then just in the field all the time, all of a sudden in these situations, in these very haunted places. And so now it's you're on the express train of investigation as opposed to like stuff that you would come up with on your own. You have all these other opportunities, and then it, you just keep going. And wow, what an awesome opportunity in life you lead. And I'm so excited for you and to see you go through these things and just so cool. So then, all right. So after the jacket, what next after that? Was there something else that,
Uh,
um,
let me think. There's so many because
right?
it,
Was
it's
there?
it's
Yeah.
it's wild because on Paranormal State we investigated a lot of residential homes that like we'll never have the chance to really go back to again, and we were the first to investigate them. Some of them I would love to just go back and see if the families are like still experiencing things. But I'm trying to think of another cool experience. There was an experience I had recently at Ohio State Reformatory that was pretty compelling, if you'd like me to share that.
Yes.
Um, so if anyone doesn't know, the Ohio State Reformatory is where they filmed the movie Shawshank Redemption, and they filmed a bunch of other movies there. But it started out as like a training facility for Union soldiers during the Civil War, and then it turned into like a reformatory place for reforming prisoners and turning them into, citizens that could be introduced back into society.
Right.
And it was never meant to be like a maximum security prison, but then it turned into that. And the conditions ended up being very poor, and there were a lot of deaths, a lot of violence, but it's a pretty intimidating place, and it has the largest freestanding cell block. It has 6 tiers of just cells, just freestanding, and it's pretty wild to walk in and see it. But there's one area of the prison called the East Cell Block where it's just like a square you walk around on, like it's like I think where I was at was on the third floor level. Really intimidating, but you walk around it, and it's just you're walking through these open cell doors. And that's one of the challenges when people go there, you're challenged to like walk the whole way around. So I did an event there this past May called Parapsychon, which is it's like a huge paranormal event, super fun weekend. And at the end of the first night we investigated, I was with Aaron Sagers, Ben Hansen, and Mike Ricksecker, and we were just kind of walking around the East Cell. And Aaron's like, "Let's do the challenge." So Aaron did the challenge, and he walked whole way around the square in the East Cell block.
Heather, what's the challenge? Wait, what is the challenge?
The challenge is just walking the whole way around and
Okay.
back. And it's very hard. If you saw what it looked like, it's really difficult. So Aaron walked the whole way around, and then it was my turn, and I started to walk down, and my friends are at the other end, just kind of looking down at me. And I walk down, and I'm almost to the end of the row that I'm at, but I didn't make it completely around. I stopped at one of the open cells, and out of nowhere, I got this feeling that something was around me. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling, but it just out of nowhere it comes on where you feel like something's watching you or something is with you. Something's not right. So I stop at the cell and I immediately turn around and walk back to where my friends are. And as I'm walking, I feel like something is following me. So as I'm walking, and I'm pretty far down, but as I'm walking, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just walk faster because this is such an unnerving feeling that something's following me. And at the time, I was wearing these big pants, and I was just like, it's just the sound of my pants, nothing's there, to try to tell myself this wasn't happening. So I get to the end, and Aaron is like, hey, who did you run into down there? We thought you stopped and ran into an attendee because it was kind of like an open area and some of the attendees were walking around. But at that time, there was no one where we were at. So he told me basically that he saw someone following me. He saw a shadow following me. They all thought that I met someone and stopped and walked back with them. And what's weird about that is I was
Whoa.
so far down, they didn't know what I was feeling. They didn't know that I felt like something was following me, but they saw something following me back. Yeah.
That's so wild. This is a
Oh.
massive, massive building where
Hmm.
if you were watching someone who was far enough away, they are far enough away where you can't see them because this building's so big.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me. That's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wild. So they saw a shadow or they saw
They
another
literally
person?
thought it was a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if they
Holy
were
cow.
standing back where they were, it would have looked like a shadow, even if
But
it was
you
a
didn't
person.
see anything.
No, but I felt it was such a strong feeling. Like I turned around. I mean, I turned around. I didn't even finish going to the end of it.
They saw another person or they saw a shadow? What did they see?
They thought it was another person, but he just described it as a shadow behind me walking. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
really
I
crazy.
know. So that's something really recent that's happened. And then
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. If you ever get the chance to go there, you should come. It's every May. The event's called Parapsychon. You can vend there. You could set up your podcast there. The vending spots sell out super quick, but it's like an event I look forward to every year just because the location is really cool.
They hold it in that prison.
Yep. You're in there. Like your tables are in front of the jail cells, and
Where do
there's
you
three.
stay?
What?
Where do you stay? There's hotels and stuff.
Yeah, you stay in a hotel. No one's sleeping the night. No one's spending the night in there, but we do an
Good Lord.
investigation like the second night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. I've read about that place. I know that when I went to school, they shot a student film up there,
Oh,
and they
okay.
took a bunch of us up there, my classmates. But I wasn't involved in that production. But I heard it was a crazy time. But I like the
Hmm.
film they made. I wish I could remember the name of it. Anyway,
Oh, that's cool though.
but yeah, it was somebody's senior thesis, so film students drop a lot of time and effort on their senior thesis and make these
Right.
grand hour-long kind of master theses, basically. And the theater students at SCAD do the same thing where they have like an hour show and it's their master thesis, which is so cool. And then no one sees these things ever again. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. You go to finals, you see everybody's thing, and it's
Yep.
like, dude, these that was such a great week of theater and film. Like this should be a thing. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
I think
Yeah.
SCAD should make a big deal of it and sell tickets, but I was glad to see it. But I wish I could remember what it was called or even
So
who was
you
involved.
said you lived in Savannah, right?
I did, yeah, for 6 years. I went to SCAD for film and television and minored in theater, and I was there for 6 years. Yeah.
Did you ever go to any of the haunted places there and have any
So I
experiences?
did the ghost tour with now I can't remember the name, Ghost and Gravestones.
Oh, yep. Yep. I'm familiar.
So I did Ghosts and Gravestones, and originally I was going to drive the trolley, but then they were like, "Oh, you're an actor. You should be an actor with the thing." And I'm like, "Okay,
Oh, you'd be good at that.
give me a job."
Did you do it?
I did. I did, and I
Cool.
never saw anything. I never saw anything.
Uh,
But we scared people. It was a lot of fun. It was like a whole show, and then I was like the guy at the graveyard that walked onto the train when they stopped there and talked to everybody, or trolley, not train, but walked everybody. And then at the end of the tour, there's a guy on Factor's Walk in Savannah on River Street, and this guy throws a body off the top of Factor's Walk, like you're like lugging this big
Get
like
out.
fake dummy, and then as the trolley goes under the bridge, they see you out of the corner of the shot, and at the front of the windshield of the bus. You just throw the body on the other side. It was so great, but it's all changed. So they rewrote it, and
Yeah.
they rewrote the whole thing. But that was the show we did, and it was so much fun. And I spent a lot of time in the graveyard just hanging out, waiting for the trolley. And it was a lovely time. It was lovely, nice
And
summer to fall evenings, and then December evenings in Savannah at a graveyard. Never saw anything. Spent a lot of time there, but it was great. There's a great part of the graveyard where the people used to have duels, and the space is
mm,
still kind of open. And people would be like, "Meet me here, and we'll have a duel. You've offended me." So some people, lots of people died, and of course, Savannah's a city built upon its dead, just like New
oh
York.
yeah, for
And they
sure.
also paved over 9 rows of that cemetery and just put a
Yeah.
street in. So,
That's why it's so hard to walk there.
I mean, right,
But Colonial Cemetery, I
Colonial
did an
Park, yeah,
EVP session in there. One of the last times I was there, I did an EVP session and I asked, me and my friend were there and I asked, did you die from yellow fever? And on my recording, you hear like somebody breathing out to where they're almost whistling. And my friend and I, like, we would tag sounds that we would hear, like if there was a bird or something.
yeah.
None of us were talking. We were completely silent. And it sounded like someone was like wheezing and breathing out. It's really creepy. I'll have to play it for you sometime.
If I was just writing what would have happened in my head when you asked that question, 20 people said yes silently,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
many people died from yellow fever. It was a horrible thing. It literally decreased the numbers of the population of the city, and they would have to scuttle bodies out of the city at night so people couldn't see it. And there were
Yeah.
tunnels, and there was all kinds of things so they could get the bodies out because they're right. The bodies do, uh, they're bad to have around other sick people. You got to get the bodies away from the people that are,
Right.
you got to get them out of there. And then um, I'm speaking out of school again, but anyway, it was a horrible, huge thing in the
Yeah.
city. Lots of Savannah has such a rich history. I could do a whole podcast on all the things I've read about it, but yeah, I worked for Ghost and Gravestone. Old Town Trolley is the name of that company. It
Yeah.
didn't come to me earlier. But yeah, there's rumors of all these yellow fever tunnels underneath Daffin Park and underneath some of the other parks that they keep finding when they excavate the street and stuff. They keep
Wow.
finding old things like that because they were, you know, trying to figure out what to do. And then of course the Civil War came through there and all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
um, wild. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people have experience in Savannah, but I did not have that many personal experiences while I lived there, and certainly I was looking and heard about a lot of stuff that happened. But
Hmm.
yeah, really cool stuff. What a great place to live. My family's from Savannah on my dad's
Oh,
side,
cool.
so
Nice.
and my dad still lives there in Wilmington Island. So
Cool. I would totally live in Savannah.
yeah, I'm a city boy though. I need to be. I loved it. I loved it. It was great. It was great for film school. I had a great
Mhm.
experience. But I'm just such a city boy. I don't want to be away from the city.
Yeah.
I need to kind of live in the suburbs of the city, be able to drive to the city in about 30, 40 minutes to kind of be happy. At
Yeah, I
this
get
point in my
that.
life, I'm 50. I don't know. Maybe it'll change. I don't know. My dad loves it though. He retired and said he'd move back one day, and that's what he did.
Nice.
So, um, well, what else? Yeah. So, was there anything? Um, yeah. Where did you just kind of sit down with yourself at some point and just be like, "What was that?" Like, and then, were you ever scared to the point where you might just stop everything and not go back and stop this life too? Was that ever
Nope.
a thing that happened?
No.
Good.
I mean, there's been I've been in some really spooky places, but for me, the paranormal is more fascinating. Like, you have the people that get scared by it and they run from it. They're just into it just to kind of get spooked. I think of it differently. I'm like, I want to know what a ghost is. I want to know
Same.
why some people kind of stay behind after they die and why there's these certain areas, these hot spots where these really tragic things have happened. Why does that, like, what triggers these events to replay again? So I think it's really fascinating. So when something happens, it's like thrilling to me. And most of the time I want it to happen again. But, there are those moments where you feel like there could be something threatening, or like most of the time when you're in asylums or jails, those are the scariest because there were just so many like violent people in jails that you can just feel that. It's like a different
It's
vibe.
like a heavy
But
imprint. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like when you enter a room after two people were yelling at each other, there's like a feeling to that. Is that what you're talking
Yep.
about?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, for sure. Even when they stop.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's true. But I've not been to many prisons or anything. I haven't really experienced that, but I've been to battlefields,
Yep.
and that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, there's something about it,
And it makes you think too, like Gettysburg, for example, they're constantly doing recreations
right?
where they're in uniform, and does that trigger things to happen?
Yeah, there's so much passion and fascination for those things, and then all those people together, like you know, you think maybe we have NASA because people just kept hanging out and talking about space. Maybe. Maybe they did, but maybe that can also, in the same idea, like also just bring stuff. Like everybody is excited about something and goes to the same place and is excited together. Concerts are certainly a feeling,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
the power of our minds. Yeah, right. The power of our very spirits. Like is that's a force. So,
Yeah.
like you were saying earlier, where people were manifesting their own paranormal issues.
Hmm.
Yes, I think there's more to that. I think there's so much more to that.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
you know? Yeah, very cool. Um, well, are there any other things that you want to talk about that you've seen recently, or what was the thing that you and Aaron were talking about at Hauntlanta about the Chinese restaurant, and then y'all saw all kinds of shadow figures in that main dining room?
He was probably referring to Ohio State Reformatory. So we had him on a guest of on Travel the Dead, which Travel the Dead is a YouTube series that Katrina Weidman and I do. And it basically highlights, we get asked by owners, people that own like haunted locations, we get asked to go to a lot of places. So we kind of compiled a list and we choose where we want to go. And we go there and really show what the investigation process is like, what it's like to be a paranormal investigator. And we kind of do little experiments. And we work with Michelle Belanger, who is a longtime friend and one of the best psychic mediums around. And from her house in Ohio, she doesn't know where we're at. We call her, have her on mute, and our lens is covered on our phone, but we kind of walk around these spaces and she does remote viewing where she'll kind of tap into Katrina to tap into the surroundings of wherever we're at. And she'll kind of go through the layers of history and just kind of share with us what she's picking up on. She knows, has no idea where we're at. And it's amazing the things she picks up on. So,
I've heard more this. I've heard more and more about people, psychics on the phone lines and tapping into somebody. You said remote viewing. There's more and more of this, and
mhm.
I hear more and more of this. And wow,
She's one of the best. It's literally mind-blowing. Like we could be standing in a spot in a basement with certain type of wood and pillars, and she'll just describe where we're at. Like it's insane. You have to check some of those episodes out. But oh, where was I going with this? I got sidetracked.
no, it's cool. I was asking about a Chinese restaurant that you and Aaron were in, and you saw some shadow figures that you guys
Oh,
were kind of blown
so
away with, and then you talked about the remote viewing.
we weren't in a Chinese restaurant.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
We okay, so we were taking a break filming at Ohio State Reformatory and we were eating sushi in their main like room. And on one of the main doors leading out into the bullpen, we heard like a banging noise. And we were locked in this place. There were probably a total of five of us. And there's a gate you have to unlock to even get on the property. So we were literally the only people there, and we heard this banging noise. So we went out and looked, and right when I went out to like grab the door to open it to look out into the bullpen, I heard a noise where it sounded like something like tapped on this metal door as I went to open it. Like right on the other side, it just sounded like someone, as if someone like was taking their hand and just like knocking on it. So I opened it and nothing was out there. So we had that experience.
Yeah.
And then we're in the attic of this building, and the attic is this really long, narrow space. And in the 30s, there was another penitentiary in Ohio that had a really bad fire, so they had to transfer a couple hundred prisoners over to the Ohio State Reformatory, and they put them all in this space. And they came there with the clothes they were wearing that smelled like campfire, or smelled like fire. So people report smelling that up there. It's a really scary place, and we were all up there. And when you're standing in there and you look out towards the doorway, like around the doorway is, like I was describing earlier, like a metal floor that goes into all these cells that goes around.
Yeah.
So we would hear footsteps. Aaron and I actually were looking at the doorway and we saw a shadow, like a figure of a person peek through the doorway like this and then peek out, where we saw its like whole body, half of its whole body. And
And
we saw it at the same time, and another one of our colleagues saw it too, and we're just like, oh my goodness.
yeah, that's the story you were telling. I think
Yeah.
it's funny how it morphed into a Chinese restaurant in my head.
Yeah, no,
You
we
guys were
were eating
eating
sushi though when that
Asian
first part
food. Yeah.
happened. That's funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. That's wild. So that's all at Ohio State.
Yeah. It's becoming one of the top, I go there every year and it's becoming one of the top places on my list because every time I go there, I have an experience now.
Have you been to the sluice mines in Alabama? Am I saying that right?
Lost Furnace. Yep.
Lost Furnace. Yeah. Tell me
hmm
about that.
I went
Please.
there a very long time ago,
Okay.
probably like 2008, maybe. Um, it was intense. There were a lot of like accidents with like the machinery and people dying. Uh, but we investigated there, and I don't remember, other than just it feeling like a very eerie place, I don't remember having any experiences there when I
Okay.
went. But it was a cool, really cool place to be.
Wild. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a place that I've read about.
And I don't know if they still have it open to investigations or not. They used to hold concerts there.
That's cool.
But yeah, I'm not sure what the deal is now with it.
Just like just like that Milledgeville place. It's just this massive place that is all closed and boarded off, right? No one can go in there.
Oh.
Um, there's a place in Milledgeville, Georgia, like this big, like the whole town is built about around this like asylum that was there
Mhm.
in the 80s, and then it's still there, but they won't let anybody in there, and they won't give the land back to the state or whatever, so it's just
Oh.
there. But
Huh.
they do patrol it pretty readily, and we'll call the police if they see you in the cameras and but
Yeah.
just makes it more mysterious. Makes it more like interesting, but you would think that at least they'd let investigators in there just because, I don't know.
Yeah, it might not be
If somebody
safe.
does it the right ways, they can ask and get permission. Like we're not hurting anything.
Right. Yeah. I miss the days. I don't know. My friends and I, we always used to like break into like abandoned places and just kind of snoop around. And now I feel like there's cameras everywhere and you just can't get away with that. Obviously now being older too, but it was much more fun under 18 being able to just sneak into these places and explore.
Those are the best
Yeah. I miss those
times
days.
for sure. Good times.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I wish I did more of that as a kid.
Oh man.
We there's a place in Georgia called the Witch's Graveyard that we would go off to, but I never went.
Yeah.
I just heard stories about it. But
Hmm.
I did go a couple years ago. My friend took me. I said I'd never been. He's like, I'll take you. So we went,
Cool.
and it was kind of crazy. But yeah, just yeah, you can read about it. I suppose, but there was a bunch of abandoned houses around that cemetery, and then the cemetery was on private property as well. And so it was just kind of isolated, and then just it was a place kids would go
Yeah.
um and do spooky stuff,
Yep.
make out in their cars. But yeah. And then there's a covered bridge in Marietta that's pretty haunted and has a bunch of stories around it. I've been there, and
Oh,
I've been to there's some paper mill ruins again on private property, but it's so massive. There's not like people there like, you guys get
yeah.
out of here. Like it's in the woods, and you can pretty much walk to it, and nobody really you can go there, and yeah, it's fine.
That's cool.
But
Sounds
we would
fun.
go, and there was a railroad trestle from the comet as well, and we'd go, and now that's a walking trail, so they like flushed all that land out and made it a walking trail. But back in the day, it was abandoned basically, and you know, so we would go. It was fun, but I didn't go to enough of that stuff.
Yeah. Aw.
I heard stories. I heard stories.
Yeah.
But yeah. Um, cool. Well, yeah. Well, Heather, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This has been really fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you back at Hauntlanta, and I hope Hauntlanta has us both back.
Oh yeah,
Like geez.
I hope so too. I hope so too, because
And
that was fun.
I have so many friends from that weekend, and I had such a
Hmm.
great time. So
It
I'm
was a good group of people.
gonna try to go to the whole thing this time, dadgummit.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
called me like 2 weeks in advance. I had like
oh,
2 weeks notice. I didn't even know about it. So they were like, "Hey, come be a guest." And I was like, "This is cool."
I do think if they have it again, they probably won't have it at the same location, which is a bummer.
I liked that location.
But
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know,
I
but
think it
they
was too expensive though.
too expensive and too far away from the city and the airport where
Right.
people could fly in and do the things that convention
Yeah.
people do. I don't know.
But we had a very special experience being able to kind of go there because I remember every morning, like I stayed there and I would wake up and go on the little hiking trails in the woods and just look at the lake, and it was a really unique location.
Gorgeous. It was such a pretty weekend and such a nice time of year too.
Hmm.
It's gorgeous. I had a great
Yeah,
time.
me too.
Cool. Well, Heather, thank you again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And let's talk soon and catch up, and I'll let you know if we can get some interest in counterfeit crows in Pennsylvania. We're
Totally.
down to come. We would love to come.
That'd be a blast.
Absolutely. All right. Well, take care, Heather. Thanks again.
You too. See ya.
Cheers. Awesome. Man, see, we have so much fun together, and that's how much fun we had all weekend at Hauntlanta, because it was just me hanging out with a bunch of people, uh, talking just shop and just enjoying each other's company at the lovely Lake Lanier Islands Resort. It was so cool. Hauntlanta, please have me back. Please be back for 2026, and I really hope that that happens every year. And thank you again for the opportunity and for having me as a guest. My very first uh, convention, and certainly my very first anything as Paranormal Record. So man, wow, that was so cool. But thank you again to Haunt Lana, and thank you to Heather Taddy. Taddy, you got to come back on the show. That was so cool. um, Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, if you guys have had a paranormal experience, I am taking interviews. I am taking emails right now. We need guests. We would love to hear your story. We're ready to believe you, Paranormal Nation. If you have something to share with us on the show, we would love to hear your story. Please write into the show at paranormalrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Heather Taddy, thank you again for being on the show and coming and visiting with us today. It was so much fun, and I've always enjoyed your company ever since we met. Yay, Heather! And I hope you keep doing your thing out there. Um, Man, if you haven't seen Portals to Hell yet, it was such a great show. If you haven't watched Paranormal State yet, such a cool show. Definitely highly recommend both of those shows. Um, watch those shows; they're great. And Heather is amazing in them. And yeah, Jack Osborne, Portals to Hell is the Jack Osborne show. So cool. Um, yeah. Well, guys, appreciate you, and thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. I'll see you soon. Take care. Good night.